now. The phones are just ringing like crazy. So we're going to be starting at the top of the hour with Gary Halbert. This is Michael Fortin. We're going to be muting the entire call very soon so that there's no feedback, because we're going to get over 1,000 people on the call tonight. If you're not speaking, if you're not introducing yourselves, could you please mute your phone by pressing *6. And as you can probably sense from the number, the sounds of those beeps, that's just how many people are on the call right now. We've been getting that a lot since about quarter to the hour. So we're going to ask you please mute your phone so we can, get rid of those annoying voice sounds at *6. I'll be muting you very shortly whenever we start, but up until that time, if you want to, you can either mute your phone or introduce yourself by giving me your name and where you're calling from.
Zach from Hi, Michael. I'm Kay Stevens. I'm calling from Belgium, Europe.
Welcome.
I'm calling from Belgium in Europe.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Wow. I'd love to speak French to you, but I don't think a lot of people understand.
Try me.
Parce que moi, je suis francophone, je suis du Québec.
Thanks. Ah, c'est bon. Je suis de Belgique.
C'est bien. Folks, this is Michael Fortin. We're going to be starting at the top of the hour pretty soon with Gary Halbert, and I want to welcome you all to the call. We're going to be muting the entire call pretty soon to avoid a lot of the feedback that we're getting, but up until that time, the lines are open, so if you want to mute your phone, just to reduce the noise disturbance, press *6. And up until that time, if you want to, you can introduce yourselves. If you haven't muted your call, you can unmute yourselves anytime by pressing *6 again. Just tell me your name and where you're calling from.
I was just on like this all night. I do. Hey, Michael, this is Travis Miller from Orlando, Florida, with Send Advertising.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, let's just do a little quick check here. Gary, are you on the line?
I know. Just getting on the line here.
So Gary is not on the line yet. We'll just wait for Gary. I thought till that time.
Listen, if you people would stop slurring my reputation.
Oh, there we go. Let me just mute this phone right now. We are in presentation mode, and we're...
Just one second.
Sure.
Caleb, it's on mute now. Nobody can hear you. Go ahead.
I muted the entire call because we're expecting over 1,000 people on tonight's phone call, and I didn't want to get too much feedback because whenever there's so many phones going at the same time, it's just crazy. But let me just say welcome to everyone on tonight's call. This is the second call with none other than the great Gary Halbert, my mentor, my friend, and the king of copy, the prince of print. Gary, he's more than just a mentor and a copyright extraordinaire, because I don't want to go through all the introductions that I did on the last call, but I want to give you a little bit of a heads up. If you didn't listen to the first call, I mean, in Gary's words, you're insane, because Gary revealed some of the most powerful copywriting strategies on that very first call. And in fact, Gary and I had a chuckle on the phone the other day about that, about tonight's teleseminar, because some of the feedback that we received from that very first call was pretty fascinating, and some of it was pretty outrageous. 90% of the emails that I've got, for example, on that call was pretty good, mind-blowing even. People were raving about it. They couldn't believe we were giving this teleseminar out for free. But there's a small minority, 10%, unfortunately, that were pissed off. They didn't have a clue. They ranted about, Gary going on tangents and stories and such, and never really giving any content. Well, I have to tell you this right now, and I have to laugh about it too, because people who didn't get it, and with all due respect to everyone on this call, regardless of where they're at with their copywriting skills, they're the people who unfortunately will never be able to get it. They'll never be able to write really good copy. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The power of what Gary taught during that last call was not in exactly what Gary said, although he delivered a lot of great content. But the biggest lessons you could pull from it, or what I pulled from it, is, and I guess you can say it this way, it's not the message. It's not even the messenger. Like they say in comedy, it's all in the delivery. Now, I'm not talking about theater and stories and such, although that was a big part of it. What I'm talking about is how Gary drove his points home, how he got his points across, and about the choice of stories, what exactly he said and why he said it in order to drive those points home, as well as the understanding of human psychology and human nature. And that's one of the most critical points in copy, and something that I see missing a lot in most of the sales letters that I see today. Once you do get it, though, you'll be able to understand not only how Gary writes his own copy, but you'll be on your way to writing world-class copy yourself. So if you can, and you should, if you haven't really heard the first call, go ahead and listen to it. But if you have, go back and listen to it again and again and again. I'll tell you right now, and this has actually happened to me, you'll get stuff on the second, on the third, and even on the fifth time of hearing that call. And so anyways, that's enough of an introduction, but before we go on, a little bit of housekeeping. The last time that we've done this call, and then we've introduced this call to you so that you can actually go online and download it and hear it yourself, we've gotten a few emails from people who said they couldn't download it. Well, I got to tell you, my server was crushed. The traffic was just horrendous. And because of that, and because my host was just absolutely wonderful, and I'm being sarcastic here, people had a hard time downloading the calls. If this is going to happen again, please try again a little later. You will eventually get them, and I do apologize. And what I plan on doing for the second call, and probably for the other call too, is to open up a mirror server so that it can take some of the load from the first one. The second one is, I asked you to send me some of your questions. Some questions were pretty long-winded. What I want you to do is to be as brief and as specific in your question as possible, rather than giving me some long story about where you come from, where you're at, and how we can save your life. We don't want that kind of stuff. The second thing is, tonight is about copywriting. We might talk a little bit about, for example, internet marketing. But a lot of questions were about internet marketing, and this is what this call is about. It's really about copy. But I can introduce a few things, and I'm sure Gary will introduce a few things. The third and final thing is we don't do critiques. People have sent in questions by actually sending me their headlines or their copy, and some of them actually full sales letters. And I usually forward some of these questions to Gary, and some of them I didn't because I thought it was just too absurd of a question to ask. We're not going to do critiques, although we can give you a lot of good ideas based on some of the questions we've had. So please be specific, and you can send your question even right now as we speak, if you'd like, at gary@boostmyresponse.com. And we've got tons of questions already, so we might not be able to go through all of them. And even if you send your question now, I might not have a chance to answer that and have Gary answer that. But what I can ask you this is that if we do have some time, we will go through a lot of these questions right now, and Gary promised me he's going to actually answer questions tonight. At any rate, if you don't know Gary, you're going to be in for a treat. And for some of you, you're in for a heart attack. So that's all I can say. Without further ado, please welcome my mentor, Gary Halbert. Welcome, Gary.
Thanks, Mike. Listen, I, too, received a lot of feedback from that last call. In fact, hundreds of letters. And overwhelmingly, they were positive. And some of them were negative, obviously written by losers, and some of them were negative that pointed out some things that I really was negligent in and that I could improve. But before I start answering questions, I am going to read one response to you that I just got today. Mm-hmm. And the subject is almost arrested. Gary, I was listening to your call recorded with Michael Fortin while driving to a client from Tampa Bay to a recently discovered distant planet of, at best, questionable value named Winter Haven. I was pulled over by an unmarked little car with its light pretending to be a big car. Anyway, I quickly concluded it was indeed the state police and wondered what the hell I had been doing. The officer told me he noticed I was laughing uncontrollably and talking in my vehicle, but he couldn't see anyone else in my SUV, so he was thinking I had some people, probably Cuban immigrants, in the back of my truck. The facts are I was simply listening to your recording that I transferred to my iPod. I was laughing my ass off and making notes into my cassette tape recorder, since I have not developed the talent for driving at 80 miles an hour and writing at the same time. True story, no ticket. Policeman verified my explanation by listening to my iPod for maybe 10 seconds, and while he could not understand why I was laughing so hard, he did understand that I was on my way to a client. Thank you for the great information and entertainment on that program. Your remarks about Gary Bensavinga, Jay Abraham, and John Carlton should be memorialized. All the best to you and those you love. And that was from a guy named Steve Pollitt. But that put a nice, I enjoyed that, thinking about that letter. But I want to start right off by clearing away 3 or 4 questions and a very valid criticism of something I did on the last call. One of the things that there are 2 things that I said, and then because of my advanced age and dementia, I started rambling and didn't clean them up. And one of them is, what would I do if I had to make $1 million in a year, or I would be shot? and the other question was, what is the thing that you have to do to prove that you are worthy of being a copywriter? To answer those questions the first part of the question, in a fell swoop, it's necessary for me to read you something, and then I'm going to explain something to you that should light a fire under some of you. And I'll just I'll read this, and then I'm going to explain the really significant things about it. Free book reveals ... how to win at online poker, especially Texas Hold'em, almost every time you play. Do you like to play online poker? Would you like to discover how professional card sharks are able consistently to win hundreds and often thousands of dollars almost every time they choose to play? Would you like to be so good at online poker that you never had to work at a regular job again? If so, this will be the most important message you will ever read. Here's why. A small, privately owned publishing company, O'Dowd Publishing, has just released a brand new book that blows the lid off and reveals the little-known but lethal techniques pro players use. Subhead, to sucker amateur players out of almost all their money. Here's just a few of the incredible secrets you will learn when you read this free book. When are the 3 best days to play online poker? These are the 3 days most people have a lot of fog in their minds, which makes it easier, much easier, to take their money away from them. When are the best hours of the day to play online poker? Believe it or not, there are 3 hours out of each day when beating the other players is as easy as falling off a log. What days and what hours should you never play online poker? These are the days and hours the real card sharks come out. Why not just make sure they are not playing before you begin? How to win even when you have weak hands. Most serious poker players would sell their souls for this piece of information. A certain way to bluff which will fool even very smart players. How to scare amateur players, the only kind you want to play, so badly they will fold even super strong hands. 3 secret tips which make winning at Texas Hold'em almost a sure thing. A step-by-step formula developed by 2 Swiss poker players for winning at Texas Hold'em. By the way, they have both made more than $500,000 by using this unique system. How to set a betting trap which will cause every other player to lose their money and lose it to you. How to sniff out scared players and bully them into losing all their money. How to double dip, play in 2 games at the same time, and double your winnings. The very best way for a low-limit player, someone who doesn't have much money to start with, to build a huge bankroll by playing online poker. How to fake out all the other players and make them believe you have a stronger or weaker hand than you really do. How to develop almost X-ray vision to see through instantly, and how to cultivate a canine sense of smell for sniffing out any player who is trying to bluff. How to remove the luck factor from online poker. When you play online poker properly, it is no longer a game. It's a business, and a very profitable business. There's a lot more you will learn from this book, and it's easy to get your free copy. All you have to do is call my voicemail and leave your name and address. As soon as you do that, I'll send your copy of my book, How to Win at Online Poker Almost Every Time You Play, and I'll send it to you immediately by first-class mail. Remember, when you call, you will not get a live person. You will get my voicemail, and you will hear me, Caleb O'Dowd, saying, "Hi, this is Caleb O'Dowd. Thank you for calling to get a free copy of my book that reveals how to win at online poker. Just leave your name and address after the beep, and I'll send the book to you immediately. Be sure to speak slowly and clearly, and please spell out for me any unusual words in your name and address." Okay, here's the beep, and thanks again for calling. That's all there is to it. Make the call, leave your name and address, and you'll get the book almost immediately. So call now while it's fresh in your mind, 1-305, whatever number. All right, now, I'm going to tell you this is the first part of what I would do if I had to make $1 million in a year or one of my children would die, and I'm going to explain the reasons why. All the copy that I just read to you fits very, very legibly with a very prominent headline in a quarter-page space of a newspaper, a quarter page. Now, a quarter page is known as an SAU, which is a standard advertising unit, which means that you can buy it at remnant or standby space, which is 90% off what you would normally pay. Now, what that means is that I can buy 1,000 circulation for this quarter page ad for $4. In other words, I could put it in papers or a single paper with 100 circulation for $400. Now, the second thing is, I tell them that they are not going to get a live person when they call. They're going to get a recorded message. That is very important because people are much more comfortable calling to get a recorded message than they are to get a live person, because they're afraid if they get a live person, they are going to get they're going to get a high-pressure sales job. The second thing I do, or I don't know where I'm at now, the third thing or whatever, is that I tell them what they are going to hear when they call. "Hi, this is Caleb O'Dowd. Thank you for calling to get a free copy of my book," etc., etc. So by the fact that I tell them this is what you're going to hear, and that is in fact what they do hear, increases their comfort level. Now, all of this is a process of taking the fear out of a sale. And if you have something to sell that people want and have enough money to buy, what you have to do to sell it, among other things, is take the fear out of the transaction. Finally, you'll notice that I said to call 1-305 whatever, and that's known as a POTS number, which is plain old telephone service, which means I can buy that for $7 a month, and it will take up 35 calls, up to 35 calls at the same time without anybody getting a busy signal. And this is not like a television commercial where, 5,000 people call at the same time. This would be running in different newspapers, and so the calls will be scattered out. Now, this is a lead-generating ad, and if you'll notice, it's a very hard-working, compelling lead-generating ad. And I believe that it will generate good prospects as cheaply as you can develop them. Now, what's going to happen after they make that telephone call is that they are immediately going to get a free book, but it's really going to be a 20 or 30-page book that gives them really, really good information, and then segues into a sales letter of why, if this is of interest to you, then you should have my course. Now, I haven't priced it out yet, but it's going to be a minimum of $97 and probably considerably more. Now, once you have that name, there is no name in all of direct marketing that is more valuable than a gambling system name. That is the single most valuable list of names you can get. They're more valuable than any other type of names. And you just about can't rent them at all. If you ever find a list of gambling system buyers that you can rent, you can almost be certain that they are only up for rent because they are 10 years old and the owner of the list has sucked every last cent that he could out of them because he's mailed them 300 pitches. So that is the formula, the most foolproof formula that I know. And the truth is, at $4 per thousand, you can test that in a circulation of paper of, say, 50,000 will give you the answer. That's $200, and you're just not going to get much cheaper than that. And if you don't have $200, you need to take a second job until you do. Now, another thing about this is that when you do this, what you do is you count up the responses you get, and that will go a long way in telling you how to design your product. First of all, if you get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 replies, what you want to do is abandon the project. And it's important that you failed fast and that you failed cheaply. However, if you get 400 or 500 replies, you divide those replies into how much money you spent to get them. Let's say you got 400 replies and you spent $400 to get this in front of 100,000 people, then you're buying leads at $1 a piece. And that means for sure you have a gold mine. Because if the first offer you make doesn't work, then you'll just keep going after it and after it until it does work. Now, that is, I hope, answers a question. And the next thing I want to tell you is that ad was 50% written by me. The other 50% of it was written by a young man I'm mentoring named Caleb O'Dowd, who comes from the town of Limerick, Ireland. And I had him do the research on this and write the bullets, and I worked him like a dog for about 3 weeks, and he furnished me with everything I needed to polish that off. And I think Caleb O'Dowd, when he came over here from Ireland to work with me, and believe me, I charge a lot, and he had to pay a very dear price to do it. This guy had never, he's listening to this call right now in the next room, he had never even seen a direct mail letter. They don't have them in Ireland. There is no direct response industry in Ireland. He had never pulled a direct mail letter out of an envelope. But he is on his way to becoming a world-class copywriter. I can guarantee you that. And he has the number 1 prerequisite for becoming a world-class copywriter, and that is he is obsessed with it. He works so hard that I have to slap him upside the head every once in a while and say, "Hey, Caleb, it's time for us to get a cup of coffee or something." But if you want to ever get in touch with a future star, or you ever want to inquire what it's like to be mentored by me, and I'm not soliciting people to mentor because I hardly ever do it. This is only the second time I'm doing it. I'm going to give your email to the people, and what he's going to write you back is he's going to tell you that, well, I learned a lot from Gary Halbert, but he is a bastard to work with. He just tortured me. Anyhow, he's always bitching about, he really does, he just constantly bitches about, I mean, not about the work. He's a hard worker, but the way he perceives me as mistreating him, and I just perceive it as teaching him. But here's his email. It's Caleb O.D. CALEB OD @IOL free FREEE .IE. I'll repeat that. It's Caleb CALEB OD @IOL FREE .IE. And I will tell you, this guy is going to be for hire, and he is good enough that I am actually doing this project with him and spending my money on it. And his brother is coming over to help us, and his brother name's John, and guess who he was? He was Michael Dell's right-hand man. And so this is really a good guy that you're going to want to know. Now, I have only mentored personally one other person, and I got a letter from him, and I have to read that to you too. And it says, Gary, will you let the world or on your teleseminar on Thursday know that your first officially trained student, a.k.a. Dave Allard, has written and is currently enjoying a 31% response rate on a self-marketing letter. It is very original, and he appreciates your ideas a lot more than Carlton ever will. I don't know where he got that from. You don't have to tell him I said that. Also, a podiatry client Dave is working with is enjoying a 6% response rate and 100% conversion to appointments. Lifetime value of these lost patients is over $168,000 in 3 short weeks from a non-sales oriented newsletter. 2 really hot lists being worked by really one hot newsletter. I'm going to give you Dave. I'm going to give you his email address too. He is up and doing work right now. I've read his portfolio. He's worked for 13 clients, and I just think that in this business, it's important to know the good people. And his is Dallard at midsouth.rr.com. That's DALLARD at midsouth.rr.com. I would like to recommend that the people on this call understand that it is important to dialogue with other like-minded people, because basically, if you are a copywriter or a direct marketer, it is a lonely, small world out there. And I want to say something more, a little bit more about that. When I did this first teleseminar, Mike, I had no idea who you were. Mm-hmm. And I have since read the sales letters that you have written for people, and they blew me away. I mean, I thought I knew every killer copywriter in the world, and I didn't. I didn't know you. And I can tell you this, I'm going to steal a lot of your ideas and letters. I mean, because they are truly that good.
Thank you.
Now, and I mean that sincerely, you must know I don't pay compliments easily. Now, I'm going to clean up another thing, a question that was asked, and I rambled on, and I'm going to try and stay focused. I'll lose it about 20 minutes from now. I want you all to know that the drugs will start kicking in, and then, but I said, how do you tell if you are a real copywriter worthy of the name? And I'm going to tell you exactly how. You have to get the SRDS book. I think everybody here, the SRDS mailing list book, I think everybody on the call knows what that is. That tells you about the mailing list. And you have to go through and pick the market you're going to work yourself. You pick it. Then you go out to a library or a bookstore and get 10 books on golf and outline a product based on the ideas you got from those books. I remember one book I really liked, had a simple title, said The Secrets of Perfect Putting. But anyway, you outline your book. Then you write a direct mail letter as though your product actually existed. Then you mail 1,000 letters out of that. You have to rent 5,000, but I often rent 5,000 and test only 1,000. And if you get enough money back that the arithmetic says that you made a profit doing this and you did it with your own money, then you are entitled to call yourself a copywriter. If you can't do that, you are defrauding people when you hold out your shingle as a copywriter who knows what he's doing and can work for other people. Because just think about this. Everything was under your control. From the selection of the list, to the creation of the product, to the sales letter, to the price, everything. And if you can't do it when everything is under your control, how are you going to do it when a client dictates to you what you have to say? So that is the real acid test of whether you are a copywriter or not. Okay? Now, I'm going to do something that I really find offensive, and that is I'm going to answer these questions. This first question asked all three of those, and so I answered all three of those in there, and says, okay, now here's the next question that I have in my hand. Is there an update on the old ADA formula? ADA, for any of you that might not know, stands for Attention, Interest, Desire, Action. And if so, what is it? The answer is no, there is no update that I know out of that. That's as that I don't know of a better formula than that. There probably are a few other things. I mean, I think you could put proof in there or something, but the answer is no. There is not an update on that formula. Okay. Now, this guy, I'm not going to mention his name because he offends me. And I want to tell you what he reads, what he said. You are asking me to give you time out of my life. Why? When I or any other person is dying, we cannot recall to get back the hours of our life. You have not shown why anyone should listen in and give up any time out of their life to another online marketer's call. Are you going to pay them for the call? The current trend of online calls is not showing any value at all. And yes, they are sometimes recorded and offered or sold subsequent to the calls. Big deal. In fact, the time I've spent typing this email may be just another waste of my time. The payback is you have to read it. Well, I think this guy is frankly despicable. Here we are offering something completely free and offering something of valuable, and he's still bitching. And I want to tell you something, and I want all you people out there to listening to this. I can tell who is a great marketer when I visit them in their home. You know what I do? As soon as we get comfortable, I ask them if I could see their library. And I was talking to Michael Fortin the other day, and he was telling me, he spent $500,000 for his direct marketing education. And, I spent probably more than that. I would buy books when I couldn't afford to pay the electricity or they were turning off my water. And whenever you hear somebody whining about buying information, just get them out of your life. Because if they're whining because, oh, I had to buy something, it's free. You know what? You should buy something. If you pay $500 and get 2 good ideas out of it, you've got your money's worth. And stop being such a pussy and such a crybaby and stop whining. You know, if you want to get this done and you want to do it, you got to pay the price, and that's all there is to it. I was talking to Mike. Mike, I'll ask you, how much have you spent for your direct marketing education?
Oh, it's $500,000.
How long has it taken you to get as good as you are?
25 years.
Okay, well, there's a lot of people on this call who want to get it for $2.50 and get it in 3 hours. Guess what? You people all suck. Okay, now, and I'm going to answer his questions anyway. Is there a huge difference in mail order versus direct mail, assuming you use a targeted audience? I don't even know what that question means. But all I know is that if you mail order, I guess if he means newspaper or advertising or magazine advertising, newspaper advertising is difficult because there's so much waste circulation, because such a small fraction will be in the market for any such other thing. Magazines can be very targeted, and direct mail is very targeted. No, there is no difference, at least no difference in copy. Now, here's another question. How is this for a headline to an ad looking for people who are fed up with their job? Are you suffering from job dissatisfaction? Actually, that is a headline that sucks. And I'll tell you why it sucks. Because it's cute. Because it's tricky. You know, this guy is really proud that he's come up with job dissatisfaction. And okay, now here's another question. Now we're starting to go into other people's questions, so I'm going to be kinder and gentler here.
Wow, what a surprise.
Everybody will hang up as soon as I do. At one of our entrepreneur boot camps, I had you speak at many moons ago. You had everyone get out a couple of blank pages, and you dictated a sample letter, complete with lots of blah, blah, blahs. For some reason, I don't have that in my files anymore, and it might be a good thing to do on your live seminar. And that's from Mark Stoddard, an old and dear friend of mine. Mark, if you're listening, I think what you're talking about is the dollar bill letter. And if all else fails, write a dollar bill letter. And here's the copy again. Dear friend, as you can see, I have attached a nice, crisp $1 bill to the top of this letter. Why have I done this? Actually, there are 2 reasons. One, I needed some way to make sure this letter would catch your attention. 2, and secondly, and since what I'm writing to you about can help you make a lot of money or help you save a lot of money, I thought using a dollar bill as an eye catcher was a good idea. Anyway, here's what it's all about, and then we go into the blah, blah, blahs of what it's all about. Now, the rest of the formula for that is after you send that dollar bill, you wait a few days until they've had time to get it, and then you call them and you say, "Hi, this is Mark Stoddard. I'm just calling. I sent you a piece of mail, and I'm not sure. I just wanted to make sure you got it. You'll remember it if you did, because there was a dollar bill attached to the front page of the letter. And at that point, something very important is going to happen. You are going to get your first yes nod. You won't be able to see it on the phone, of course, but somebody will say, "Yeah, I got that. I got the dollar." And then you're going to say, "Well, I wanted to check because, you know, you can't be too careful when you're sending money in the mail. Isn't that right? And he's going to go, yeah, you couldn't be too careful. And then you're going to say, well, you did get the letter, the dollar was intact, and you've had a chance to read it. And then you'll get your third yes nod. And if you can't take it from there, you should get out of marketing, you know. So first of all, I want to say, Mark, I was glad to hear from you again, and but I think that's the answer to your question. By the way, Mark reminded me of a quote of mine, which is one of my favorite quotes, especially since it's mine. Nothing is impossible for a person who refuses to listen to reason. Okay. This is Gary, looking forward to the call tonight. Question. We are doing a split gate, I don't know what that is, with a radio station. They run spots, and we show up and do training and split the total revenue. I guess that's what it is. We're shooting for 500 people at $59 each. Not sure how to make the spot stand out in the glut of other average commercials. It's talk radio. They volunteered to create the spots, but I know radio stations are awful at the creative, and I thought you could add some spice to it. Could you address this tonight? Yes, I will. The best thing you can do to make your spot stand out is avoid all bells and whistles, all music, all trickery, and everything, and it just should be a voice, probably a male voice, talking, explaining what it is all about. And the main thing is you don't want to detract from your message, and the trickery and the music and all that stuff detracts. If you're not going to use something that's equally as good as a male voice, is a female voice from the South, a Southern accent. Now I'm going to tell you all a secret that almost nobody knows, and it's this. If you run a full-page ad in a newspaper, you should budget, at least some of the time, $3 per thousand. Like if the circulation of the newspaper is 100,000, then allow $3 for each thousand, so $300. And on the day that the newspaper comes out, you should pay $300, these are rough figures, not exact, to a radio station. And by the way, when you buy stuff when you buy radio commercials, there's only two kind of stations you want: country music and talk radio. And the reason for that is that's the only radio that people are actually listening to. All the rest of they might be bouncing along to the music, but they're paying attention to this. And what you should do with that is you should advertise your advertising. Say, are you interested in losing weight? If so, read the Miami Herald today. Look for the page that says NASA scientist invents new way to lose weight. Now, by the way, you can do that on television, and if you're buying a 10-second spot on TV, which is about all you can afford to buy these days, when the day your newspaper comes out, you should say, somebody should be standing there with the ad in front of the camera, showing them the ad and say, are you interested in lose weight? Look for this page in today's Miami Herald. A NASA scientist reveals a new way to lose weight. That's called advertising the advertising. And while I'm on that, I'll tell you another trick. Newspapers are so huge today that I have ran ads that came out in newspapers where to find my own ad, I personally had to go through it 7 times looking for my own ad. And as a general rule, if you're running in newspapers, if you can manage it, always run on a Tuesday, because you want to run in the skinniest paper there is. Now, here's a big trick when you're running in fat papers. Advertise the advertising with little 1-inch ads in other sections of the paper. And you say, want to know a new way to lose weight invented by a rocket scientist? See page 74 in the C section. And sprinkle those ads throughout the newspaper that will get people to go to a section that they wouldn't have gone to normally. Okay? Let's see what else we got here. One, do you, Gary Halbert, know when to write short copy and when to write long copy? Are there objective criteria for making the determination? Anything you can describe, any source material to read or listen to, or is it all a matter of guts, and experiment? What you really should do, and all of you are suffering from this, is I suspect that most of these people here don't know what a world-class swipe file is. I would guess that you, Michael Fortin, have thousands of examples in your swipe file, as I do.
Oh, yeah.
And you should look at small ads, and you should look at long ads, and you should be writing them out in your own handwriting till it's embedded on you on a neural basis. Second question. What do you do to make sure you write good copy about something you consider disgusting? For example, I hate gangster rap. But if a guy wants me to sell his gangster rap training course, how can I, A, quickly get up to speed on the subject, and B, get in a frame of mind that lets me write copy so good that I might even change my own feeling about the subject? First, I think you should avoid, unless the wolf is at your door, writing about things that disgust you. It's hard enough to make all of this work by writing things that you're passionate about. But if you have to write about gangster rap, which I hate too, then what you want to do is you want to read hip-hop magazines, you want to talk to the people who play it, you want to talk to the people who listen to it. What the biggest thing that people fail to do, I saw a great picture on the internet the other day that somebody had been able to capture a complete picture of an iceberg, the part above and below the water. The conditions were just right. But David Ogilvy was asked one time, what was his long suit in advertising? And he said it's research. And I'll tell you something. Everybody that's good at advertising, that's their long suit, research. And you just got to do the research, and that's all the way is to it. 3, is there a quick way to find the starving crowd you often talk about with a customer who doesn't yet have customers of his own? Well, first of all, if you can, you should avoid working for people who don't have customers of their own. But I don't know how, this question indicates that you and your client are going for it backwards. In other words, a product or service has been created and you're going out to find the market. That's absolutely backwards. What you want to do is find the market and then create a product or service to service that market. Okay, next question. Gary, I plan to join your live seminar today. I have recently designed and patented a unique golf tee called the Stack Tee. Favorable articles have been written about the new Stack Tee in 3 trade journals, he names them, and it was recently approved by the USGA. A number of golfers have tried the Stack Tee and really like it. Briefly, the primary features and functionality of the Stack Tee are 1, the capability to stack multiple tees together, which make it easy to adjust the height of a golf ball for any kind of tee shot. 2, it interlocks, making it easy to carry a stock of tees in your shoulder pocket. 3, it is made out of a polymer material with a lower surface hardness than did the hard birchwood tees, and it will not damage, scratch, or leave paint marks on expensive thin-face drivers. 4, it's designed to minimize the kinetic energy loss from a club tee interaction. Weight is only 1/3 of the standard wood tee. 5, it functions as a standard tee holder and can be used to adjust
the height of wood tees. 5, it is golf course friendly, made from a biodegradable polymer material that can easily cut or vacuum by lawnmower. I am not a marketing guru, but what some people consider a technical geek, PhD engineering. By the way, for you that don't know, PhD stands for piled higher and deeper. But I try to keep my head out of the clouds, and I have common sense. I plan to send out a flyer discovering features, functionality, and samples of the stacked tee to all of the U.S. dealer distributors of golf equipment and the golf courses. According to my research, approximately 500 million golf tees are consumed annually. My question for you is, what is the best way to market this new product? Am I barking up the wrong tree? Thanks for the invitation. I look forward to your feedback. This guy has really put some effort into trying. So the first thing I'm going to say, although it sounds discouraging, I'm going to follow up with something not so discouraging. This doesn't have any sex appeal or sales appeal for golfers whatsoever. John Carlton is the master at marketing to golfers, and here's what they want. They want to hit longer, straighter drives off the tee, tee shots. That is the number one appeal. This is a very weak appeal. But having said that, I think if you find people who distribute products to places that sell golf equipment, that this is going to be an excellent adjunct to the line that they carry, and that you should maybe put that in their line. But you're never, I shouldn't say never, because who am I to say? I said when I saw Star Wars, the movie, that it would fail, but you're not going to sell that at a profit via direct marketing. But I think you maybe can sell it as a distributorship, and I wish you the best of luck on it. Okay, here's another question. I'd like to hear your insights on the differences in writing fascinations. By the way, fascinations is a word that some people use for bullets. For an information product, such as a book, report, or newsletter, versus a physical product, such as a vitamin, gadget, etc. The answer is there is no difference whatsoever. For the information product, it's much more direct that some unique knowledge will be revealed versus the physical product, which has specific benefits, but they're not teased the same way. I'd also like to hear your thoughts in the difference in creating magalogs versus other types of direct mail. First of all, he is on the wrong track in thinking that the creation of bullets differ from how you should go about it differently from a physical product than you should an information product. That is not true. And the best way to learn how to write bullets is go to the Gary Halbert newsletter. You all know it. It's www.thegaryhalbertletter.com. Click on View Newsletter Archives and find the envelope that says Let's Do the Twist, and you will get a free education on how to write bullets. Now, he also says, I also like to hear your thoughts on the difference in creating magalogs versus other types of direct mail. And here's what I'd like to say about this. If at all possible, avoid creating magalogs. They are used by the biggest mailers in the world. I'm working for one of them now. And some of the source material is the magalogs they use. And so much work goes into creating a magalog, and so much expertise in not only the writing and also the layout, which you just about have to have a layout artist do it, that really and truly all the great writers I know, me, Scott Haynes, I don't know about you, Mike, I don't know if you do that, John Carlton and everything, if somebody has a magalog job and they insist on it being a magalog, we turn the job down. And I'll tell you the truth. a tear sheet mailing or a hard-hitting direct mail letter will beat the Magalog every day. But Magalogs are way too much work to be worth the effort. Okay. Hi, Gary. What is the best time frame to follow up on prospects by phone after sending them phone postcards? Okay. Number one, really, folks, don't send them postcards. It's just a little bit cheaper than sending them a killer, hard-hitting sales letter. And I want you all to get something straight in your head. It's not how cheaply you can do it. It's how much of a return you can get on your investment. I would bet you that this person mailing postcards to get leads, I'll bet you that she would make more money if she would send FedEx letters and follow them up. Now, actually, but her specific question is about the time frame. Who knows when a postcard is going to get there? I'd wait about 5 days, I guess, if I were sending postcards because someone had a gun to my head. But it's much more predictable if you send a Federal Express package. It's much more impactful, and it's going to be much more profitable if it's well written. And if you send a first-class letter, you're going to make a lot more money, too. You know, I mean, I don't even know what a postcard costs because I never send them. Do you know how much they cost, Mike?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think very many really top marketers would even know what they cost. But everybody wants to do this because it's cheap. You should stop thinking about cheap and stop thinking about return on investment. I remember in the early days of the Internet, guys crowing that they were able to make a telephone call for free on the Internet. It took them 18 hours to do it. Well, if you think 18 hours is free, then you don't have the right mindset to even be in any kind of business. Another example of that is I went to the Rolling Stones Steel Wheels concert, and I took a bunch of people with me, and I paid about $300 for each of the tickets. And we sat in the second row center. I mean, I could reach out and touch Mick Jagger. The people in front of me were bragging how they had got their tickets for $35, but they had also had to camp out for a day and a half. Well, I guess I was the fool because I thought my time was worth more than $3 or $4 an hour of laying in a sleeping bag in the rain. So, and that leads me to an extraneous comment. There's a lot of people, a lot of ways to beat people at direct marketing, competition, that are not thought of. One way is to outwork them. Another very easy way is to outspend them. There's a lot of time you'll find a real cheapskate person with a scarcity mentality that will be moving so slow. He'll be, you know, the biggest difference between winners and losers? Losers focus on the perils of the perils of defeat. Winners focus on the rewards of winning. So if you focus on, gee, what could go wrong here and all of that, probably something is going to go wrong. Okay, here's another one.
I just want to add one little thing, Gary.
No. This is my call. I don't want anybody interrupting me. You know, they're out there peeping. And Halbert is, what a creep, you know. You realize how many people you have in this call with no sense of humor whatsoever? These people should be working at McDonald's and being made to eat dog food. Go ahead, Mike.
I should recite the first response you ever given me after I've written to you. But I just
maybe not.
No. I just wanted to add that the only exception I have found, and the reason why I know this is because I've actually written copy for Michael Kimball. And Michael is a big shot in the postcard industry. And the only postcards that I've ever worked with that have worked really well are oversized, wall-to-wall, dense copy-sized postcards.
Yeah, they might work.
And with an offer and an actual call to action and a response device attached to it, but not the teeny-weeny postcards. I'm talking about an oversized, either letter or even legal-sized postcard and there's dense copies, like a wholesale that are on one postcard or both sides.
It's worth a try. Anything's worth a test, you know? And that sounds like if it could be made to work, you got it. Here's one. I have an opportunity to do direct mail with another company, sharing all expenses. Our customer demographics mirror each other, same age, income, sex, education, occupation, etc. Comprise the same material niche, identical. Different products. One product, hearing aids, cost between $2,000 and $8,000 with a huge markup, while the other, bone density testing,